All right, man, what an intro. Bangers. Yo, that was exclusively for you because after further analyzing your socials, your profiles, everything, I am convinced that you are not human. You are, in fact, an alien, extraterrestrial. And so this is a first for ODK. So let me go ahead and give out a little facts right there. But
Yo, vibes. Yeah, I was jamming to that. Like, totally felt like a whole new kind of Spaces intro. Like, wow, thank you.
no doubt, no doubt. It's the reason why we're called One Dope Kids. You know what I mean? We have to, we have to deliver every time.
Love it. So yeah, like I let you guys know that I would be the one interviewing you, not the other way around. So I'm curious about One Dope Kids. Where did that come from?
Damn, straight into it, huh? Hold on, let me take a sip of water. I can already tell that this is about to be a different kind of space. Hold up. All right. Well, if you want to ask the questions, by all means, do you. So yeah, One Dope Kids. Where did that come from? So that actually came from my own life experience. I'll try to keep it super short as much as possible. I grew up in Rialto. I was born in LA, and I grew up in a pretty rough environment, right? And so, right around the age of 12, 13, I got into graffiti because I was like a small kid, getting picked on and stuff. And I remember at the time, party crews and gangs are kind of like a thing, and I was like, "Dude, I don't want to do that, man. Like, yeah, I want to go to parties, meet girls and stuff, but like, I don't want to be officially like affiliated with one of these crews or gangs." And so, me and my boy, we started One Dope Kids, ODK, and so it was like our thing. We weren't really a crew because it was only two of us, but that's like hence the plural at the end of One Dope Kids, and so. I kind of brought that same energy, the same ideology, like all the things that I've learned throughout my experiences of keeping that like mindset right, and I turned it into a fucking project, and so we're here now.
Oh yeah. That's super cool. No, I'll let you continue with your spaces. I'm totally kidding. I'm not gonna hijack the space and interview you. I just thought that it was a funny tweet. So
It was clever. I liked it, and for the most part, yeah. Like this space is really, it's very organic. Don't do much preparation for it because I want it to be very like on the spot, live in person. And so I do dive into obviously like your history as a creative, like kind of like the stuff that influenced you to build that perspective for the audience, right? And really get some insight. But overall, it's like shit. If you have a question, fucking a statement, if you want to sing, by all means, do whatever the fuck you want to do. This space is yours.
let's go. I love it. I love it when it's like off the dome, unscripted. Like this is that raw creative shit.
Has to be, man. Has to be. I mean, I know you can definitely relate with having all these things that we're building. Like, if it's not on the spot, like, bro, I really don't have that much time to be preparing for shit. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's why we do it raw, live, in person, in front of the audience. They get to really get the insight of like what it's like to have this one-on-one conversation from like creative to creative. And so that being said, you know what I mean? Let's go ahead and take this way, way back because I feel like there's so much we need to talk about here. Like, girl, you're just fucking all over the place, which is amazing. But like, I want to take it way back to like young bangers. Wait, actually, what should I refer you to? Because I see you have like Bangaloo, you have bangers. Like, what do you want me to call you?
Bangaloo. Oh my god, I'm freaking dead. My Instagram handle is Bangaroo. That was like my artist name in Web 2, and then when I came to Web 3, I just dropped the O's. But my real name is Kari, all dogs, but Bangers works.
All right, fair enough. Bangers it is. Wait, did you say Cardi?
No, like Kari, Kari.
Oh, okay. Car. I was like, what? Cardi? Okay. Damn. But all right, bangers it is. Bangers it is. So let's take it. Let's run this way back to like young bangers as a kid. what was she into at that time? Like, what are the things that was gravitating her attention?
I was a little weirdo. Like I've always been a weirdo. I'm an only child, so I had like no siblings to tell me that I was being weird. So I had a bowl cut because I saw a cool girl soccer player play on a boys team and she had a bowl cut and I was really into soccer. For it, I
No
brought a
way.
photo and kind of just fuck. And so yeah, I had this bowl cut and I played with like snakes and bugs. So yeah, it was weird. I was like artsy. I made art. I read a lot. And yeah, overall like pretty out there kid, I feel like not really ever um normal.
I think that's a great foundation. I mean, shit. First of all, just being, I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to be the only child. I do have a younger sister. And so being like the only one, like, damn, I can only imagine what that would be like. I would definitely be a lot more weirded, that's for sure. So,
Yeah, I
shit, props to
actually
you for that.
I didn't want siblings when I was like young. Tell my mom like no more kids. I don't know why. And then like as soon as I was 14, like I was just like fuck, I want to have siblings, you know? But
And like, what do you remember? Like the first type of things that you were creating as a kid, like art wise. I know it's a while back, but like, do you have any pieces that you or like certain things that you would recreate
hello?
all the time? Because I see you're like into aliens and stuff right now, So like, I want to know when that started to happen.
Sorry, I think you cut out a little bit. Would you repeat that?
Yeah, yeah. I said I wanted to like, what kind of things were you creating as a kid? Because I see you're like heavily into aliens and space and stuff, and so do you used to draw that as a kid as well, or?
Not really. I feel like the alien theme, like all the themes that are on my Instagram kind of like came out of me like sort of probably like through like being an Instagram artist. It was more like that kind of style. Like when I was a kid, like it wasn't even just like drawing. Like I got an iPad probably when I was like 19, 20. So like that was like a while before I started doing like digital stuff. I would just like do a lot of like random shit. Like I remember making like Pokemon cards, like little animal things, like games. I think I did a lot of game stuff. Like just like really like weird different mediums. Like I feel like I was always doing crafts with like different shit. Like I was just like gluing shit together. Like my glue gun was it. That was my tool. It was a hot glue gun.
Yeah, that's fire. And what kind of friends did you have like growing up? Like, did you have other artsy creative friends, or you said you were also into soccer? So did you play for a while?
Yeah, sports was like a really big part of my childhood. I did like competitive soccer for I feel like probably like around 10 years. Like it started really young. So like the girls on my team were like, yeah, honestly, like my best friends. Obviously had like friends in my school, but I feel like sports is just like such a good way to like really have like long bonds with people, you know? Like I'm still friends with a lot of people that I played soccer with and woo, go sports.
I'm all for that because I'm same here. I played competitive soccer as well. I played all the way to college ball, so there's a lot of good that comes out of that. I mean, first of all, you're surrounded by other adult people, and then like the discipline of it too. It's like it takes a lot. All the practices, all the injuries, like even just from a mindset perspective, right? Like working so hard for something, and then come game day, it's like you're leaving it everything on the field, and it's like life. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's just like, damn, you just feel the emotion either way.
Yeah, I totally hear you. I feel like it's such a good thing. for especially like women, like girls. Like I feel like that's like such a healthy thing to do when society is sort of just like, trying to put you in a box in another way. I feel like sports is like really kind of like empowering in a sense. And yeah, like working hard, physical activity. I feel like that, like the kind of like regime of like doing practices, like it was like 3 practices a week in a game in summer. It was kind of crazy, but I don't know. I remember I got to college and I was like, I'm not doing I'm not doing soccer anymore. And I just remember feeling like kind of like my life was finally mine in a way. Like it's just like it's a lot. Um, but then I had to do school, so it like really wasn't. But
Nah, no doubt. That's why, like, for me, after college ball, I was like, nah, this is it, bro. Like, fuck trying to go pro. Like, this is just way too much. And, like, for me, it was like the injuries, the constant getting hit, like sprained ankles. Like, because I played center mid and winger.
I
And,
played center mid.
oh, no shit. Okay, so you're baller. Okay.
Yeah,
I
my
was doing a
ankles were
banger.
fucked up too, bro. Like I was always like in an air cast. I was in an air cast like twice a year. It was the worst.
Yep, exactly. Nowadays, shit, I need to wear high top sneakers because if not, like, I can be walking around and if there's like a little divot, boom, my ankle sprained. I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah, I'm like really over that whole thing. Always happening. I did like basketball and volleyball too, but soccer was always the main. There was a point where I was 1 year I was playing competitive basketball, competitive soccer, and competitive volleyball, and like plus my parents like it was always a practice here and there.
100%. And the reason I even like kind of dove into this topic a little bit for the audience is because I really want to paint this picture, let them know like being involved in some type of sport does build confidence. And I feel like a lot of my confidence I definitely got from that because you learn like that, fuck it, bro, like I'm already doing it, like might as well go all out. And so if you apply that into different parts of your life, whatever it may be, whether it's art, music, it's like, or your studies, that same mentality is going to fucking give you some results. And so that's why I'm like over here diving a little bit deeper with Bangers about this because I think it's super important to understand like your confidence can be built from different stages of your life. It's not just like all of a sudden I'm born, bam, I'm the shit. Like, nah, bro, you build that. It's like it's a process.
Hell yeah, totally is. I love that you're relating like playing sports to confidence. I think that's awesome. Really, because I totally agree.
Yeah, because it's just like I just seen the patterns, over and over with like some of my homies and stuff, and then like the more personality that you have, like the more out there that you put yourself with your art, your fashion, the way you look, the way you even present yourself. It's like it's all about confidence. It comes down to how willing are you to go your full 100% level that you really want to go, but because society and like people either talking or not understanding about something, like maybe they look at you your art, they're like, yo, that's just weird, like I don't get it, like that can be, it can be really shut people down. But that's what I'm saying. It's like a consistent type of thing. Because I'm seeing your art. Your art's kind of like it's
Yeah,
out there. Your
I
shit's like
totally feel. I know the connections. I think your end. I don't know if it's me. Um, I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that, but
what were we saying? The last part.
I think the connection's kind of like in and out. Can you hear? You can hear me fine.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You're good.
Okay. I was gonna say about like I feel like there's a really like prominent point in my life where I just stopped giving a fuck what anybody thought. Like I think like really like how do you kind of like be at peace? I would like attribute to really not caring about what other people think. Like obviously to a certain degree, right? It's like that's not being like malicious to friends, but it's more just like the opinions of strangers or letting like the worry of somebody like having a thought about you that's completely out of your control, having that affect your reality. And for me, like that moment, like I feel like it wasn't even like to do with sports or really, because like I remember being like super self-conscious in high school and like worried about what people think, what I would wear, what I was looking at, like typical like puberty growing up type shit. But I went to my first year of university the summer after that. I did this thing called tree planting, which is basically like a summer job. And if you're not familiar, it's like a Canadian thing, I'm pretty sure. They like ship you up north to like deforested lands, and you live in a tent, and you literally work like 12-hour days physically planting trees for like a whole summer. And so my first summer doing that, I went with my best friend, and we were just like initially like we came late, and everybody sort of looked at us like, who are these girls in Lululemon leggings, like all of that. Oh, they're just gonna probably quit in like a week, it's too hard for them. And so it was like, honestly felt like a lot of the people at the camp looked at us in a certain way, and we really felt like we were kind of immediately judged. We sort of did everything together and kind of isolated ourselves. And I remember this like being a point where I was just kind of like, fuck all this noise. Like me having like trained, every single day. I was like quite physically fit, athletic, and we just like ended up smashing it, tree planting, and planted a ton of trees. And you get paid per tree, by the way. It's actually just like grilling work. It's ridiculous. But then ended up becoming like friends with everybody at the camp, and we kind of like got assimilated. But that was like a moment where I was just kind of like, fuck that. And that stuck with me my whole life because I really don't give a fuck, you know?
Beautiful. I love that. And that's very interesting because I think a lot of us get those moments, right, where we're presented in this situation of a like, okay, what are you going to decide? Are you either going to just say fuck it, or are you going to let it affect you and kind of diminish yourself a little bit because of what other people are either saying or the way that they're looking at you? And so I think it's very important to be aware of these like moments because like you just said, that one moment at this camp, planting trees, like you still hold on to this day. And it's like that was like the switch for you that completely gave you that, you know what, I'm just gonna do me regardless. And if people fuck with it, that's cool. If they don't, like I really don't care. So yeah, definitely look out for those moments because they're there. Trust me. Like life will continue to put these moments in front of you to see if like okay, maybe this time they'll be like, all right, I'll do it. But so yeah, that's really dope. Very interesting story too, by the way. Like planting trees, I would have never guessed like that was like that switch moment for you.
Yeah, it was honestly crazy. Like, I think it is really important to kind of reflect on the experiences that like define you and like process them even, right? Like it's kind of just like being able to attribute your characteristics that you're aware of to kind of like where did this come from? I think is just like an important thing in like self-reflection, right? And yeah, no, that like moment, like I love tree planting. I went back and I did it another summer, and it's pretty fucked. Like it's honestly like actually whack. Like there's like bugs all the time, and they want to eat you. You live outside. You like have to like physically work in all sorts of conditions, and yeah, I feel like it was challenging in so many ways. Like the actual work, I remember just like the second summer I did it, I remember the first like week or two just being like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm doing this again. This is so fucked up. Like, just being like, why? And then like your brain kind of breaks. Like, you get into the routine of it and you're like, okay, yeah, like I can do this, Like, it's challenging physically, but it's challenging mentally because like your life changes ridiculously. And then you have to kind of get acclimated to it, right? I don't know. I feel like another thing that also part of that experience that I really look back on and I'm thankful for is like the people that I was introduced to. Because I came from like a small town. I was relatively sheltered. This was kind of out of like high school, 1 year of, a university. So the people that I was like coming in contact with were, I feel like, very similar to myself in terms of having like a similar background, similar, history of, yeah, like school, whatever. And the people that I met tree planting were all over the place. Some people did it like full time. Some people were like same college students trying to make a bag. And it was just like all over the place, like the amount of the different kinds of people that I met. And I feel like that was kind of like eye opening for me in a way to like learn how to like relate to a lot of different kinds of people and to just like, you know, be friends. Different people that like, yeah, you're super different, but like what are the ways that you can relate and how can you learn from, you know, everybody, right? So yeah, I feel like that's also a huge part of it, but it was a big thing. It was a big experience for sure, and just like so many things to take away from it.
Sounds like I need to go tree planting. That sounds like a dope experience. I would definitely do it. Shit, why not? Damn. Yeah, I think when you're exposed to different types of personalities and different kinds of people from all over the place, it really like shifts your perspective a bit, of your own individuality and like who you are, right? And like the things that you're actually into. And it's really cool to learn new stuff that you wouldn't even think you were into, but because somebody else introduced it to you, you're just like, oh damn, you know what? That's actually pretty fire. Let me try that, or let me listen to that. It can be something as simple as music, which is I love a lot of different genres for the same reason because I'm just like, well, never heard this before, but like, it might be an experience. Let's try it.
Yeah, totally. No, I don't even know if I recommend tree planting. I think it's a good job if you're like trying to make good money and you're physically athletic. Like you can make like honestly it's like probably like $200, $300 a day planting trees. Like it's fucking hell. But if you want to do that and you're into the idea of having like a life changing, crazy, chaotic experience, then hell yeah, like for sure.
Bruh.
But would I go back? Would I ever do it again? Probably not. Like there's some days that I'm literally like, yeah, I wish I was in the middle of fucking nowhere with not a care in the world, but feel like I'm very much out of that phase now.
Nah, you guys heard it here. Banger said, let's drop Web3. Let's all plant trees. That's the move. $300 a day. You get fucking strong. Like, bro, that's the move right there. Shit, what are we doing in this space, man? Yo, wildin'.
For
Man, that's
real, for
that's a
real.
that's a great story. I love that. So let's speed it up a little bit. Let's take it to like the IG roots, those days because I see you like you built up your audience. You're selling art, and most people they'd have that number of following, they would hold on to it, but you said fuck it. I'm gonna close up shop and like I'm gonna do something else. And so let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, like how did you even come to create that like page and like what are the things that you were doing, right? That were kind of like working for you at that time?
Yeah, I mean, like initially I got an iPad when I was in school, like quote unquote for school, but I pretty much just used it to draw on and like I would like be drawing in class. So it wasn't necessarily the greatest study tool, but it got me into digital art. And then I was super secretive. I created an Instagram and I didn't tell anyone. I just like posted to it. And I had always been kind of enticed with the idea of followers. Like I was sort of like, wow, that seems like a superpower. Like I want that. And so then I kind of got into the whole digital marketing side, found my style, and then just like figured out how to grow on Instagram, right? And so that was sort of like what I was doing, like while I was in university studying, like I was focusing on, you know, doing this thing, and I sort of feel like I realized, um, the first time I did shrooms, actually, I cried because I was like, I don't think I want to work in a chemical plant, like because I was studying chemical engineering, and I was like, I just don't think this degree is for me. But I still went through with it. But I think like I kind of knew sort of early on that I wanted to do my own thing. And then when I graduated, I had another startup that was like social enterprise hardware related, completely different from what I'm doing now. But I just sort of like decided that that and art was what I wanted to focus on, and I just like kind of just did it. Like I went into it full time. So like I've never had a real job. Yeah, never had a job really. I don't really know if tree planting counts. It's kind of nuts. There's some like other stuff like that, obviously, but yeah, I just went into doing social media like full time and like freelancing, doing all of that. And this was like before Web3, obviously. So yeah, I pretty much just like sent it because I sort of idealized the idea of having followers and growing a page. And I was like, well, when I have that amount of followers, I will have made it. Like my life will be so easy. And that's sort of what I think I was working towards. Furthermore, also, I think like social media is it plays mind games with you if you're not aware of it, man. Like likes, followers, comments, that means absolutely nothing. Like you have to realize that it literally means zero. It means that you actually wasted your time in a little bit. And I think I come at it from like a cynical perspective, but like if you're not able to get something out of that, and I think like community and friendships, absolutely, like that's amazing, right? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like to a certain scale, right? If that's your goal, it's only really going to affect your life if something good can come out of it, like, you know, monetization and being able to live off of it, which is what I did, but that's not, it's not like it was easy. And I think a lot of people have a certain view of like quote unquote influencers that their life is just like super easy because they have followers, you know, they're so successful, all of that. And I really feel like the reality is super different. But yeah, it's my initial take.
No, no doubt. Definitely love to hear it, and I think you're right. I think without, honestly, without some sort of direction or a reason why you're even trying to build a following, like you're just gonna feel stuck or like feel like, what am I doing this for? You know, because it's a lot of fucking work. It's a lot. You know, staying consistent, creating content, constantly adjusting to, for the algorithm, right? All these different changes happening. Oh, a new platform over here, a new one over there. Like, what's hot right now? Oh, it's reels. Oh, it's posts. It's like, bro, it's so much, right? And so, if you don't
You
have it,
know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. And if you don't have, like I said, a reason to even do all this, like, you're gonna feel burnt the fuck out. And not only that, but you're gonna feel like you wasted your time because, like you said, if you're not monetizing or if you're not really like
Mhm.
doing it for a reason, like, what are you doing it for? You know, what's the point?
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like my reason for doing it was because, like, yeah, I want to be my own boss. You know, I want to be able to do all of that. But I feel like as I sort of grew, right, I felt like, yeah, I'm getting more followers, like, number go up, but my engagement and my ability to actually reach my audience is actually going down. So I was kind of like, what's the point? Like, literally always battling with an algorithm. Like, if I was doing something successful and I was monetizing, well, it was because I was first to it and I figured it out. Like I remember I found a hack with polls with stories that like I could get like 20K views on my stories. Like easy if I did that with polls. I did like a certain thing and I would always put a call to action at the end. And it's like it was stuff like that because if I wanted to advertise or post anything that had to do with my shop, Instagram would just bury it. So I literally had to be on my toes 24/7 finding these little hacks and workarounds, working around the algorithm, and it was not consistent. It was, and it just became this thing that I think like after yeah, probably like 100K, 150K, probably around that. Like I just got really tired of waking up every day and being like, what am I gonna post? And I'm like, Instagram isn't paying me for any of this stuff, right? So I'm literally doing this and then I'm feeling like my actual reach, the stuff that I'm working towards is not working. Like I'm not, and I'm just kind of feeling down. And furthermore, like not even really creating for myself, creating to have things go viral so that number go up. So it just became this kind of like perpetual thing where like I really felt like my life was kind of ruled by like waking up and being like, what am I gonna post? And it just became like exhausting. And so when I found Web3, I was already probably like in the back of my head, I was probably thinking, I don't know if this is sustainable for my mental health, right? Like it was my way of life, but I think I was kind of over it. And maybe I didn't like fully realize, right? Because like if you don't have an option,
you don't have another option, then you're kind of like, okay, this is, I suppose, sort of where you sort of maybe stay. I don't know. And I think like Web3 was really that exit strategy for me, especially because like the main thing with Web3, like initially, I think it was more so the people, because artists work together in Web3. Like it's amazing, right? In Web2, there was like really not that. Like that didn't really happen. So I think it was a lot to do with like the friendship and the people, but also the tech and sort of understanding that hey, there was actually another option to what being a creator could look like on the internet in the future. I was kind of like, you know what? This is the route that I'm going to take. I'm going to skirt over here and just kind of see what happens.
And the fact that you did that already kind of feeling burnt out from doing everything that you did on that side of the realm is quite impressive because most people come into Web3, specifically artists, and yeah, they see how cool it is, how the community and stuff, but then they also realize, like, damn, this shit is so fast paced, bro. Everybody's dropping like all over the place. There's projects popping in and out like crazy, and so it's very hectic. And so, how was that transition for you? Because you come from that side of the world into like a more crazier, fast paced space. How has that like been for your mental health, or even just for you, right, as a business, as a brand?
Yeah. I mean, like in terms of like the fast pace, like I totally hear that with Web3, but I feel like I pushed myself way more with Web2. Like I was literally like, I have to post every single day, right? And when I came to Web3, I did not create with that sort of like vigor. And I feel like initially figuring out how to be an artist in Web3 is weird. Like it's a weird kind of transition because it's like, oh, should I keep my supply scarce? What am I doing? Like, oh, how much is my art selling for? All of that. And so the scarcity aspect was kind of like maybe you don't want to, be putting out art of the day. So I think I also sort of like took a change, right? Like I was like, this is a different space. And so I took like a step back and I think I sort of realized in that point I was like, you know what? Fuck Instagram. Like they should be paying me for what I'm doing. Like they're literally extracting value from like me and my community and they don't even have tools for us to, connect or anything really. And like it just wasn't it. So I took honestly time off. Like I came into Web3, I embraced my inner degen, and I just had fun. Like I made friends. Like for my first, I think 3 or 4 months. This was like even before Holoplex. Like I think it was hard to mint. Like it wasn't there when I first came in. There, I don't think there was like a self-serve tool to just upload your artwork and mint it, and or it was really janky. So I didn't even sell my art. Like I wasn't like, oh, I need to be selling my art. It was more like, I'm gonna like degenerate this. I'm gonna make some friends in this Discord. And I kind of just embraced. I was like, there is so much to learn about this technology, the culture, the space, etc. And I was like, you know what? This is my time. I've been working way too hard for too long. And so I took a back seat and I just like enjoyed it. And I was like, I'm here for the ride. I just want to be a sponge and learn as much as I can. And then it was like January, I think, of 2022. That's when I started auctioning my work on Holoplex. But even that was stuff that I had created because I had so much content already, right? That I had made that I was like, proud of that just like took so long that I'd like probably never really successfully monetized. So that's what I did. I just did kind of like auctions like that and I freed myself from the shackles of having to create every day for someone that wasn't myself.
Damn, talk about a journey right there. But damn, that's amazing. I'm proud of that because that's definitely not easy. And let's talk about your art a little bit before we get into 3D lands. Um, because looking at your stuff, right, you're kind of like uh, you have the ability to do illustration. I see you have animations. I see you have like 3D stuff. So it's like, damn, your technical ability is quite it's big. You know, how did that happen? Did you just start with one thing and then delve into the next, and like, you know, how did that happen?
Hmm. Thank you so much. Yeah, like I'm completely self-taught. So I started off with an iPad and I was just doing illustration, and then it was Giphy. Do you guys know where the gifs come from? The gifs, like GIF search. I started my own Giphy, so I just did like the most basic animations. I think one of my friends figured out how to animate on Photoshop and like showed me and how to export it as a GIF. So I started a Giphy, which is another Web2 platform that doesn't pay. As of now, I have like I think close to 4 billion views on my Giphy, billion with a B, ridiculous. So I started that, and then the advertising agency that I worked for, kind of like did a little bit, was like, "This is a cool service. Like, can you do this for us?" So I did it for them, and then they started selling it as a service for me, kind of like white labeling it. And I sort of realized that that was my niche service. Like that's really how I paid my bills. Is I sold Giphy channels. I ended up starting several ventures, sort of like around that, and yeah, basically, I just sort of realized that brands like animation is a more valuable skill than illustration, right? You can charge more for your time if you know how to animate because it's harder to hire for, and so that just sort of became my niche and what I did. And then I got into doing that for reels, right? Like I was doing it probably a bit for myself, messing around. And then when reels came up, I had probably just started in After Effects. My workflow is super janky. I go from like Procreate, Photoshop into After Effects. No technical training, so it's kind of random. But I popped off on reels. I was like first to reels, and I grew a lot, and that was like my last phase of growth where I was growing like 10K a month for a couple months, and I was like really into it. And then I just like that. It's like after that I fell off. I burnt out. But that was sort of I think the way that I got into it. But I sort of realized, and then animation, honestly, it's like I don't mean to be like it was like about the money, but I think that's like how I got into it because it was like paid work, right? But animation is so beautiful, man. Like it takes a whole new like view on art. The fact that like you can create something that can change with time. Like I fell in love with it kind of right away, and it sort of just became the medium that I like pushed myself to create in, I think, because I don't know, like in creating and like in being an artist is like it's a lot of it is about developing skills, like especially digital, right? There's like all these different softwares. So I really like learning and I like feeling challenged. And so I think, yeah, animation, like I just kind of moved from illustration, still illustrated, but being able to learn and develop my style further in a whole new medium, that's like what I really like that as well. And some of my most favorite works are animated. But then, yeah, the 3D aspect kind of comes from that whole thing of like learning. It gets to a point where you can like it's easy to create, I guess. And I'm not like that's a good thing, right? It's like it's great to be able to have an idea and be able to fully execute it, but 3D is like that whole thing, and you go back and you're starting from zero and you're like, I have an idea but I can't execute it, and that's kind of the challenge that I really like. I feel like I'm not a beginner anymore with 3D, but there's still like literally so much to learn. Like it's crazy. So I feel like that is sort of why I'm exploring 3D more so, even in my like personal style, obviously for what I'm doing with 3Land, but it's challenging, and it's kind of like emerging technology as well, which I really like. But yeah, that's sort of the background. In summary, still learning, right, and enjoying the process.
Always learning, right? You never finish learning. Like that's the vibe right there. And you know, just from a personality perspective, have you always been this way? Because it seems like if you want to do something, you have an idea, like you just don't wait. You know, you're just like fuck it. I'm gonna either learn it or attempt it, or just one way or another figure it out. Have you always been that way?
I I think so, honestly. Yeah, like I feel very like compelled to create, and I feel like for me that's the meaning of life. It's like having the freedom to do whatever like you want and bring kind of your imagination into reality. I feel
while
like
getting
that's
paid.
fulfilling. That too, like, that's always good, obviously, being able to survive. But yeah, like I think it is really like the art that comes first, right? And I think that's also just part of my kind of journey, right? Is where like I was selling my creativity for money, and then that became something that maybe I wasn't able to fully create for myself. And so even part of this in Web3 is I want to be able to create for myself first and not be, being told what to create or whatever else it is. So, because like creative burnout is so real, right? If you're going to be spending your creative energy on someone else's vision, that leaves less time for yours, right?
Definitely, 100%. That's why we push for creatives over here in ODK, because I firsthandly know how much it takes to even just be able to create on your own time, on your own freedom, right? Making the stuff that you actually want to make. And then at the same time, it's like you said, surviving off of it. And so the dynamic over here is like, I don't want to just survive. I don't want my homies to just survive. I want the creative, powerful, and incredible artists that I know to be able to create, but also thrive. Fuck surviving. And so that's what we're pushing over here. Like, I'm using every ounce of my resources, my time, my energy to make this shit happen, because I feel like us creatives, we make this fucking world go round. Like, we create stuff out of nothing, bro, and we're constantly pulling out of our hearts, out of our souls, because of this need to just create. And so I feel like a lot of companies, a lot of people take advantage of that. And they don't understand, like, bro, without us, you guys ain't shit. And so we're switching that dynamic, man, because I feel like we honestly deserve so much more. And I feel like the time is starting to really shift that way, because of the tools, right? Because of the tech. Because nowadays you don't need representation, right? You can figure it out on your own. But it's like, if we move as a unit, right? Find like-minded individuals with the same passion, the same drive, the same need to create, right? Bro, we can do so many big things, right? That big companies and big entities can just look at and be like, fuck, I fucked up. I should have either invested more or actually gave them the time to see what they were doing.
Preach. I love that. I'm here for that. Like, I wish I had a soundboard and I could just clap at you right now, but all I can do is these emojis. Let's
It's all good.
go.
I'll give myself a nice little clap. No worries.
Love it.
All right, but let's go ahead and talk about third dimension, because I think that's a really cool concept, and we have about 12 minutes before we close it out. Like, damn, I'm telling you, every time we have a lit ass space, like this shit just flies by. But let's try to squeeze in third dimension, because I really want to know about it.
Yeah, let's squeeze it in. What do you want to know?
First of all, what gave you the drive to start it, and then second, like, give me the gist of what it's about and what your vision is.
Yeah, totally. I think in terms of like sort of the journey to starting it was like this first metaverse was like an early metaverse project on Solana. It was called Desolates. And so basically like my NFT was like this whole world. And there was another project that I absolutely fell in love with. It was called Soul Parasites. These were like early days, but Soul Parasites was like an AI project where like the NFT itself would update every single day, the visual, so the metadata would change to copy one of the other NFTs that was in your wallet in like a really creepy like AI way. And so I think like those two projects were when I sort of realized like okay, like NFTs are more than just like a digital image, right? Like they can really be anything, which is crazy. Like a website can be an NFT, like, the avatars in 3land, the wearables, the whole rooms, they're NFTs, right? So I think that part was kind of crazy for me. So I sort of just like really fell in love with the technology. I was like, yeah, like this is so different, right, from everything else. And I think like that comes into like full circle with like, being a creator and being like, I can create all these different kinds of things and actually monetize them because they're digital assets, right? Like there's so much stuff that you're doing like on Web2 platforms, you're creating content gated in those platforms and you can't even monetize it. So I think initially it was realizing that this is really an intersection of art and technology, and the creator, like the creator economy is never going to be the same. Like Web3 is just going to walk in there and fuck everything up for the better. So I think that was like sort of it initially. And I can't even really take credit for like the idea of Threeland, right? I posted this metaverse, the Deslets metaverse, on my Instagram story, and that led to connecting with my co-founder, who's in the audience, C4 Gigabrain developer, and yeah, he basically showed like built a metaverse on Solana. I was like, you should get a planet and we can make something. He was like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. And then came out to me like with this amazing metaverse that was like way better than Desolate. I was like, whoa, I should have floored all my Desolates at that point. I didn't. I'm still bag holding. They're like pretty much rugged. But that was sort of like the beginning of the story. And then it just became something, that we both like felt like we're really passionate about. We have the same story in terms of being a creator. And so vision was just really aligned, in terms of like what we're building for, right? Like we're building for the independent creator. And it took a while to figure out what we were. It took a while to obviously like you don't know what you're building. They say that you don't know what you're building. They always told me that. And I never really got it until this experience with Threeland because we didn't know. We didn't know for probably like 6 months at least. Like we knew it was like an open metaverse. And like now it's not even a metaverse. Like it's not, I don't tell people it's a metaverse. I say like we have a metaverse. We're not a metaverse. Um it's like kind of like a little recent pivot, but either way, like the ideation, the iteration process of kind of like figuring out what we were doing took a while. And I think like that's also, the technology developing with it, right? Like we're in the early days of Solana. Like the standards, like the baseline, like all of the infrastructure that needs to be built for consumer applications, like it's probably only up to par right now. Literally, like compressed NFTs, like you guys hear this all the time. Like they are the future. Like they are actually going to be like what powers the adoption, that actually allows Web3 to really get into the normal world. So yeah, this is me like rambling. I guess I haven't really even said what Three Land is. But yeah, okay, it's social, it's a marketplace, it has a metaverse, and we're launching something new that we've been working on for a really long time. It's in my bio. And that is probably what we're most excited about now because I think like we learned a lot trying to be a metaverse and trying to make the metaverse happen, which I think it's like a nice to have. It's not necessarily a need to have. And so we're looking to like make something that people actually want to use. And so, yeah, we're quite excited about the next release.
Damn. Hell yeah. And how long have you been building this? Because I love the way you talk about it in the sense of like you guys are like discovering as you guys continue building because I feel like that's the only way, right? You're growing. I feel like that's the signs of growth of like one day all of a sudden be like, oh, hey, I see this a little bit different now. Like, I understand this part of the equation now. Like, okay, sick. And then, like, you continue to do it, and all of a sudden it starts to make sense a little bit more. And so I think that's what building is, right? You have an idea, you have a concept, and you're feeding it, right? You're putting brick by brick, and then it just tends to flow easier, and you're able to talk about it a little bit better and better, right? To be able to communicate it for furthers to understand. And so I think that's really cool. And that's why I asked, like, how long have you been in this build?
Totally. Yeah, no, it's been man, like time in Web3 goes so fast, doesn't it? Like I don't even know. I think it's like it's going on. It's definitely been a year. Okay. It's 100% been a year. I think we're probably around like a year and a half, going on 2 years now. Um so yeah, and it's been like it's been a great journey. Like the space, like I feel like Web3, I feel like you're learning so much all the time, like so fast, and just like the way that it develops, like I totally just hear the way that you're saying, like the process of building is so like iterative. I think that's like creation as well, right? Like just sometimes you're making something and you don't fully know where it is, but you know where you're going, and then you keep going, and it just turns into something that maybe you didn't expect, and then you keep going. And the way that I look at Three Land, it's like my magnum opus, I think, in a sense. Like it's art. It's something to continue to create and to build, and see where it goes. But like at the end of the day, I think it's about, like, for me as an artist, like the artist in me, it's about powering like new kinds of art and like new creative tools that intersect with like the digital, and having all these benefits for creators, like the monetization, like the owning of your audience, like all of that stuff. But fundamentally, like it's about the art, and it's about new kinds of things, that we can do with the art, right? Like I think it's cool that you can have an avatar, you can make your own avatar, make it NFT, you can make wearables for that avatar, and you can sell all that stuff, you can make a whole house, right? And I think those are just like that's just the beginning of what it is. Like I feel like we're still very much like in the early days, but that's what a metaverse should be. Like if we're going to talk about the metaverse should be free. What you create in the metaverse, it should be free to create, and you should have ownership over it. So when I look at metaverses, I think that's cool. But if you're going to make digital worlds and you're not going to make every single thing an NFT in it, then at the end of the day, it's like it's Web 2, and I don't fuck with it. And I don't really think that people will want that kind of gatekeeping if there's other alternatives that really allow them to like fully have ownership over their creations. But I still think we're so far away. Like we're so far away from the metaverse being a reality, right? And so that's sort of why that whole pivot is like we're not a metaverse, we have a metaverse. And I think it's like about rebuilding the internet using these new kinds of technologies. And blockchain is just one of them, right? Like augmented reality, VR, XR. Those are the kinds of things that I feel like can really shake up the internet. You pair them with blockchain, you give people ownership, and yeah, suddenly it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time. I mean, we've seen it happen time and time and again. Like new technologies happen, new experiences come up, new ways of interactions. It's all about placement, right? Like where you position yourself when this time actually hits. And I think that's what we're all here doing right now. People who are in the audience right now as well, like in Web3, we're all trying to position ourselves so we can win. You know what I mean? Like when the actual time comes, right? So I think it's important for us to stay together, to stay connected, to have these spaces, right? To be able to talk about things, talk about the future, talk about the stuff that we're creating, right? Maybe new ideas pop off, or maybe a realization happens, and that's really all it takes, right? To have like a strong pivot, or just have an art piece or a project kind of like have that missing piece that they needed, right? And so I mean, that's what we're here. That's what we're here right now doing this space. Like, I want to really connect with people like Bangers, right? That are very passionate with a strong vision, that are here for the long run, right? And they're not just here to like mint something, cash a check and just be like, all right, bro, deuces. And so I really respect that about you.
For real, right back at you. I feel like the people that are here right now, like, look around, take notes, because the people that are here are the real ones, right? And like, if you were here in the bowl, like the first time I bought Solana, I bought the top. I bought $250 Solana, and the space was completely different. Like it was filled with a lot of, people that didn't really see the vision of the technology or even appreciate the community. And I think it's easy to get down and be like, oh my God, like we're in a bear market, like this is never gonna be a bull again, like all of that. You can like really feel that kind of like cope at the bottom. But there's a lot to be said for the people that are still here. And I think the majority, like 99% of the people that are here now, are really the people that care. They care about the people, they care about the tech, and they're working to build a whole new internet, right? This is what crypto is. Like, this is a revolution. Like, it is a financial revolution for sure, but it's also the revolution of an internet that's user owned. Because if we don't build a user owned internet and our lives trend more and more and more digital, like, you don't want to live in that reality, right? And so I think we just keep building, we keep supporting each other, and we send it. And I think like that's the kind of vision that if enough people continue to contribute to it, we're gonna get there. And the bull's gonna come back, like numbers gonna go up, and wag me, Solana to 1,000.
Yes, sir. We're gonna make it. We are absolutely gonna make it. I'm gonna be here for it. I know Bangerz is gonna be here for it. Are you gonna be here for it? I don't know. We'll see. But that being said, we're already at the 1 hour mark. Like, damn, yo, this shit just went by. I swear it's like Web3, it's like 5 times the time. It's like 1 year in Web3 is like 5 years. And so time is just all fucked up. But if anybody in the audience right now has a question or a statement, please raise your hand. I'll get you to the stage before we close it out. But Bangerz, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like, yo, I wish we didn't have to run it back. I hope you know that.
Hell yeah, we gotta run it back, dude. And yeah, I think we can do a lot of more fun, exciting, awesome things together as a community and push forward one of one art into everybody's hands. Okay, gonna get them all having NFTs. And yeah, Wagme. Well, thank you so much for having me and for just creating a really awesome space to talk. I really love that you asked me like some questions that I was just like, don't typically get, like about, sports, my childhood, all of that. So it was a wholesome interview. And I have to ask one question because I told everyone I would before we call this. Should kids really have dope?
Oh gosh, your kids really have dope. Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. You know, and
You can rug
I
it here if you want.
guess I guess I'll just tell a story. Like I don't know what it is with this word, right? Like I don't know where I got it from. Maybe it was from like my cousin way back, but like for whatever reason, the word dope was just so dope to me. Like I used it for literally everything. Like I remember there was a time that there was like this platform called Karmaloop, and I was like selling through like using like a discount code, right? I guess like affiliate marketing and stuff like that. And my code was dope as kid. Like, and ever since that, like everything that had to do with like a handle or an email or anything, I just had the word dope in it. And so I was just like, I guess my life is just dope. I'm just that one dope kid. So fuck it, like dope all the way. So
Okay,
I don't
love
know.
that for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, exactly.
Is one enough? Shouldn't founders do more?
Yeah, definitely should do more. No, but like our main thing that we really push is like we strongly believe that every single person should be the one dope kid of their life. Like aim to do that, right? Just be the one dope kid of your life, and I guarantee you're gonna have a much more fulfilled life that way because that keeps her focused on your stuff, on your world, right? Like you're just grinding for your own stuff, like you're creating for your own stuff, and so it's a different feeling than creating for other people or other companies or whatever. So that's like the message, like the deeper message.
Yeah, let's go. Play that clap. Play that clap track for us. All right.
All right, but before we close it out, I do have one last question for you. And this is something I like to throw out at the end, right? Oh, actually, we have a request. Give me a second. What's going on, Jay? Welcome to the stage, fam. Don't be shy. It's all good. She's nice.
Oh, there we go. I had the mic off. You hear me now?
Yep,
Hi,
you're
Jay.
good.
How you guys doing?
Amazing, man. Having a good time.
Cool. Hey, I just wanted to mention about the make sure to remind you to mention about the Hive Links auction.
That is right. Yo, I've been so just in tune with this space. I completely forgot. Yo, we have an auction right now, a one-on-one from Hyblinks, and it's ending in about 25 minutes. And so we have the link pinned up to our profile on X or Twitter, whatever. And yeah, 25 minutes until that auction ends. It's a one-on-one from Hyblinks, and yeah, it's super dope. Let me go ahead and pin it up to the Jumbotron real quick so you
I
guys can
pinned
see.
it.
Oh, perfect. Oh, thank you. Much love. And
Got
yeah,
you.
thanks, Jay. That being said, let's go ahead and ask you this last question so we can close it out. If you can go back in time and you had 10 minutes with young Banger, what would you tell her?
Oh my God. What? I'm not prepared for this question. Oh my God. I told you the questions I was going to ask you ahead of time. Like, you had time to prepare for those tough ones.
That's the whole
I
point.
don't
That's the
even
whole point.
know. I don't even know if I want to say anything. Like, I feel like it would be really trippy for me as a child to meet like the older me and just be like, I'd just be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, what if it were to change the course of my entire life? And then I went back to my reality and like, I wasn't even where I was. Like, I was just so scared as a kid that my life completely went completely different. Okay, fine. I'll answer it. I would probably just be like, you're sick. Keep doing that and just do it again and again and again, and then you're just gonna keep doing that and it's gonna work out.
You're such a deep thinker. I love that.
Literally, I'm nervous thinking about that. Like the convergence of realities. I'm like, I have to like go back and like calculate quantum time theory like before I
Yo,
even think about that.
that's exactly like that's the whole point though. Like to have you thinking about that, right? Like, what would that experience feel like? Be like? Like it's just a trip, right? It's a trippy question.
Super trippy. For real, for real.
But all right, everyone, thank you guys for tuning in to the Creative Mind. We do this every Friday, usually around the same time. Like I said earlier, Bangers, it's been an absolute pleasure. We're definitely gonna have to run it back, chat and see what we can do together. But yeah, that being said, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day going into the weekend. Have fun, stay safe. Banger, is there anything else that you want to tell to the audience before we close it out?
Hugs. Thanks, everybody. You're great. Hugs.
Hugs. There you have it. Lots of hugs. Is there a hug sound thing? No, there isn't. Hmm. It's all right. We'll get one of those. Much love to everybody.